The reality is that freelancing usually begins much more simply than people expect. You don't actually need a perfect website, a massive audience, or years of entrepreneurial experience. Instead, what you do need is a solid foundation and the willingness to start putting yourself out there. Since I have gone all in a full-time role in my freelance business since 2021, I've built a multiple six-figure business, and I've worked with more than 20 different freelance clients in my field, which is training, consulting, and AI-related projects. And if there's one thing I've learned, it's that most people spend too much time waiting to feel ready before they begin freelancing. So if you're thinking about starting a freelance business, I have 5 steps that I would focus on first. Here they are. First, decide on your area of expertise. This seems like a simple one, but for many people it's challenging. I think it's one of the biggest mistakes that new freelancers make. I think that many times we try to offer everything to everyone, thinking that that's going to make us the most desirable. It feels safer in a way to cast a wide net, but in reality, people hire specialists faster than generalists. That doesn't mean that you need an ultra narrow niche immediately, but it does mean that you should start by identifying the skills that people already come to you for. So I want you to ask yourself, what do people consistently ask you for help with? And along with that, what work do you really enjoy enough to do repeatedly? And what problems can you confidently solve based on your experience, whether that be from other jobs, volunteer work, or side projects? Now, your expertise doesn't have to come from a traditional freelance background. Many freelancers start with skills they've developed within full-time roles or even hobbies. So some freelance options that you have, and this is not an exhaustive list, these are just ideas to get you thinking about your skill set. There's training and facilitation, that's my jam, writing and editing, graphic design, AI consulting, another one of my jams, social media management, you could be a VA, a virtual assistant, instructional design, project management, you could offer tech support, video editing, marketing help, or even administrative support. There is a big list of things that you can do as a freelancer or solopreneur. You also don't need to know everything before you start off. Many successful freelancers begin with one strong skill and expand over time. My first freelance gigs were a couple of decades ago, and I just built on that until I was finally ready to take the plunge into full-time freelancing. And I can tell you, for me, personally, one of the best decisions I ever made. Now, the goal to get started is not perfection. The goal is to be clear on what your target is and then to move toward that target. So this way, when someone lands on your profile or your website, or they're having a discussion with you about your services, they immediately understand what you help people do. Now, the second thing is to actually hang your shingle. So once you know what services you want to offer, you're going to need a professional presence online. Now, at a bare minimum, I would suggest that you polish up your LinkedIn profile. Make sure that it clearly explains what you do, who you help, the type of projects that you handle, and how people can contact you. Now, if you want to go one step further, I'd say create a very simple website that you could direct people towards. Now, it doesn't have to be elaborate. I know that many freelancers actually delay launching their business because they think that they need a perfect website before they can get started. I can tell you, based on my experience, you do not. Is one helpful? Yes. But is it 100% necessary? No. And if you decide that you really do feel like you need that page to send people to have some cred, a clean one-page site with your services, your background, and your contact information is enough to begin. Now, some of you will remember that I recently wrote a post about using the Durable AI website builder. Of course, this is not necessary to use this particular tool, but I know that when some people hear, oh my goodness, I have to build a website, I don't know where to start. If you are in that camp, I would say check out Durable's site. It's really, really, really easy to get started. And honestly, the tools that they have just make it easy. So instead of spending weeks struggling to build a website, you can have something professional online in an afternoon. And again, the goal here is to launch, get started. Now, your online presence does not need to impress everyone. It just needs to help the right people understand what you do. Third, you're going to have to decide on your business structure at some point. And I think that in retrospect, it would be nice to have something in mind before you actually get started, because you are going to get paid, and hopefully very soon. So you're going to need to decide whether you want to operate as a sole proprietor or set up a formal business structure like an LLC. I also have a post on that. I'll post it down the bottom in the comments in case you want to check it out. I personally started as a sole proprietor years ago when I started out as a freelancer and a solopreneur. I owned another business at one point, and it's evolved since then. I'm not saying that my path is the best. Definitely not necessarily the case, but it's a path, and maybe you can take something away from it. I would suggest meeting up with an accountant who can really provide you with some advice on which would be best for your goals and where you think the business will go. Now, many freelancers do start off as a sole proprietorship because it's really, really easy. This is something that you can do in less than a day. You just basically, establish the paperwork. It's a really easy setup and the costs are lower. So this will not be an obstacle for you. Now, I chose an LLC, and I chose it for a variety of reasons, which may or may not be right for you, but I wanted the liability protection. I wanted the separation between my personal and business finances. I wanted it to look more formal to some clients just at the stage that I'm at. And I figured that this would make it possible for me to grow in the future. Now, setting up an LLC was a little bit more complicated than when I did set up a sole proprietorship, but it's not anything that you can't figure out. Thanks to Google, thanks to the AI tools that we have, it would be relatively easy. But again, I do suggest asking a tax professional what path is inevitably right for you. Because neither option is going to be universally right. A lot depends on you, your goals, your income level, your risk tolerance, where you're located, and just your long-term plans. So Again, for me, I eventually chose the LLC route, and I shared more about that as I mentioned in a previous post. If you do want to see how I approached it personally, it'll be down below. Now, what's the most important thing about this step is don't get stuck here. So many people do. They spend months researching business structures instead of actually starting. You can refine your setup as your business grows. This is not necessarily a permanent decision. So again, just get started. Now, step 4, and this is really, really important. And I know this may be one of the tougher steps, but you can do it. You can do it. Just look in the mirror, tell yourself you can do it. This step is let people know that you're open for business. Yes, you have to let people know that you have a business for them to actually employ you and utilize your services. And I know this is the part that for many new freelancers is challenging, and they avoid it because it feels uncomfortable. I'm there with you. I know how you feel. But again, you have to tell people what you do. Freelancing is not build it and they will come. That's not the business model. Opportunities come through visibility, conversations, referrals, and then relationships that you build. So you have to start telling people. Now, who can you tell? Everyone, but especially former coworkers, your friends, any professional contacts that you have, your LinkedIn community, and other people that you're connected to in your industry. Now, you don't need to make a dramatic announcement. Make this simple. Even a simple post saying, I'm now offering freelance services in blank. Please reach out to me for more details if I can help you. Even that can open doors. And if you don't already have a strong network, that is okay. Many freelancers get their first projects through freelance agencies, staffing companies, or other contract agencies. So I think it's going to come in one of two ways. Either you're going to look into maybe working with a staffing agency to help market you for you to get you started, or you're going to have a connection that needs your services and they know you're offering this because you let them know, and then you build from there. So those early projects may not be your dream clients, but they're going to help you build that experience, create sample pieces that you can show to future clients, gain testimonials, and learn how freelance work operates. What we're looking for here is momentum. Momentum matters more than perfection in the beginning. And then the last tip that I have to have you get started right away is join online freelance communities. I did also mention this in a previous blog post. It's one of the fastest ways to accelerate your freelance learning curve. I really do suggest spending time around other freelancers. So find communities related to what you do and share and learn about any client experiences, pricing strategies, tools, workflows, any red flags that you should look for. Really helpful to do that as a newbie. Any wins and mistakes. Now, of course, when you first join these communities, it's likely that you're just going to observe and read the discussions and learn the language of freelancing. But really do pay attention to the common challenges and patterns. And then gradually start to contribute where appropriate. Helpful comments and thoughtful insights definitely do help lead to connections, referrals, and opportunities over time. Now, that's something that does take a little bit of time, but it is definitely worth the investment. It's going to pay off in the long run. So, while freelancing can feel isolating at first, it doesn't have to stay that way. It does become much easier when you realize there are entire communities of people figuring out alongside you. For me personally, this has been one of the biggest growth mechanisms for me. I have learned so much from people who are willing to share their experiences and their expertise in this community, and I'm very thankful for them. So, final thoughts are most freelancers don't begin with a flawless plan or a polished brand or a massive client list. I know I didn't. They start by deciding what they can offer, putting themselves out there, and learning as they go. You don't have to have every detail figured out before you begin. You just need to take those first few steps seriously enough so that people can tell you're open for business. That's when freelancing starts to become real. So check out those other videos that I have below to help you on your path, and I hope to see you on the next video. Thanks, take care, bye.